Hey guys, welcome to another league race. Today we are racing around Bahrain in round 1 of LSA season 5. Now this is the first time that I'm doing a voiceover with my recordings, so bear with me, I will get better at this. But the idea is just to go through the race, go through qualifying and talk you through what I was thinking, my strategy calls, when I was pushing, when to go for overtakes, etc. Just so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm thinking about while I'm racing. So let's dive in straight to quali. This is the first lap, my first flying lap. We went up quite early because I was planning on doing 3 runs, but we had a lot of lobby issues and a lot of people disconnecting. So after this first run, I just sat in the garage for a while just trying to invite the guys back into the lobby. So I ended up only doing 2 runs, but this is the first one. It's not been a great lap so far. We had a bit of a moment going through turn 2. And yeah, it's not been super clean, but into turn 10 we go, nice rotation, keeping the minimum speed up quite well. We do that pretty well and we get back on the power. This just has to be a banker, nothing special, we just need to get a time on the board. And yeah, let's see what we do. Going through this turn, this is a tricky traction zone because you want to get on the power while still turning. And this next corner, I still don't know really where to brake. I just kind of guess and then hope the car turns in. And then this is the second last straight before we get to the final corner. And yeah, it's been a decent lap, nothing special, but a good time on the board as we go around the final corner. Turn in a bit early, go over the curb. You want to try and miss that curb ideally. But yeah, we open the DRS and we come across the line. Then 28.699, that will be beaten for sure. And as we get ready to start our final lap, 40 seconds left of the session, we go across the final corner on the power as soon as we can, straighten the car up and let's go for a flying lap. Open the DRS, cross the finish line. Now we're going. Delta is going to stay fairly similar now, but going into turn 1 we brake a bit earlier, but we get the rotation better and now we get on the throttle much better without getting wheel spin. Go over the curb, not a snap of oversteer down. You can see the Delta climbing, 1.5 tenths up, 1.6 tenths up. Going through turn 4, hit the apex very nicely, get a good exit, and now you can see we're almost 2.5 tenths up through this section. Hit a bit of a curb there, but it's fine. Bring the car onto the left, brake in a straight line, go right. We missed the apex slightly, but we're still on a good lap. But now, turn 9 and 10, this is where it all goes wrong. 2.5 tenths up, and we just carry too much speed and we have to brake, and then as we try and get on the throttle, we get a lot of oversteer and we lose all our time. We lose almost 3 tenths just in that corner alone. And now someone's taken out the braking board as well, so I don't know where to brake. Go a bit deep, but we carry enough speed through and we're still half a tenth down on our Delta now. We have to make time up because we have been falling back. We're down to P4 already. And yeah, now we are basically level with our Delta, so we just have to send it through this last corner. If we don't improve, we don't improve, but we've got to absolutely nail it. So we brake late, turn in, nail the apex, get back on the power. You can see the back end wants to step up and we improve by almost a 10. But yeah, not enough for pole. We are P3 and at the end of the session we drop down to P4 and you can see we are 2.8 tenths away from pole. So if we didn't mess up that turn 9-10 sequence, we would definitely be fighting for pole. But a very good lap from Furi. He gets pole ahead of Microstatic and Brands in P3. We are down in P4. Now into the race we go, starting on the hards. The 2 drivers in front of us are on hards as well. Big T and Elo Wide behind on mediums. And the idea here is just to stay ahead of as many medium drivers as possible. If we lose a few positions, it's fine. So we brake later into turn 1, leave space on the inside for Big T. We have the inside for turn 2. We leave space on the outside. We enable some ERS just to stay ahead. And it's been a good start. We've kept it clean, nothing going wrong so far. Turning for turn 4 and now we just need to settle in at the moment. There's no need for a lot of fighting, no need for a lot of overtakes, but we hit the curb and now Big T sends it up the inside. He hits us and basically just gets past us before the safety car comes out, which is unfortunate, but we have to concede the position. And yeah, the safety car is going to be out for a few laps. It's too early to really box or do anything from here, so I think everyone just kind of stays out. There were a few cars who boxed under the safety car, but I think the top 10 all stayed out. So at the end of lap 3, we're going to restart after the safety car. Battery full, tires are fairly warm, and we've got our teammate behind us, so we know we probably won't be under threat into turn 1 from our teammate behind. He will definitely not be sending it, so we turn on the ERS for a brief moment just to get some momentum, but we turn it off fairly quickly because we do not want to be wasting any battery at this point. We're only on lap 4 in this race, so we brake nice and early, make sure we don't hit the guys in front. And this smoke animation is really one of the things that irritates me the most on this game, because whether the car in front locks up or not, there's this massive smoke and then you can't see what the car is doing. And I've probably lost 2 or 3 wins just because cars are going slow on the apex and you can't react in time because you can't see them. So it's fairly annoying, and you'll see it in this right-hander as well. We brake and it doesn't look like the cars ahead really lock up, but there's a massive smoke animation. But for now, everything is still fine. You can see battery is fully charged again. We're not pushing at all. We're just staying in this DRS train. There's no need to fight. There's no need for squabbling over positions at this stage of the race. We just need to keep our tires fresh, keep our ERS as full as possible, and stay with the leading pack. Whether we are 2nd, 3rd, 4th, even 5th at this stage, doesn't matter too much as long as everyone stays in the DRS of the lead car. As soon as we lose DRS of the lead car, that's when we will be in trouble, because then Fury will just be running away with this race. But for the moment, we're still fine, sitting behind Big T. He's still on mediums, which means he will be a bit faster at this stage. The mediums will still be very fresh, and there's no need for any silliness at this stage. So we just sit behind. As you can see, we just give a little bit of ERS just for some momentum down the straight, but we turn it off very quickly and stay above 80-90% of the battery. And again, into turn 1, nothing major. Big T gets a little bit of rear locking, but it's fine. And now we can see Microstatic maybe starting to struggle a bit with his tires, and hopefully Big T doesn't go for anything here. He sits behind. That's the right thing to do. You don't want to force Microstatic to defend, because then we'll all just be losing time, as I get a bit of a snap of oversteer there. Just trying to find the limits of the tires, find the limit of grip. And yeah, going through this right hand, I think this is turn 8. Microstatic is starting to lose a bit of ground, so I'm starting to think maybe we should try and make a pass or two. If we can be the second car, if we can be in P2, we can drag Microstatic and Big T along back into the DRS of Fury. But at the moment Fury is getting away, and now you can see Microstatic gets a massive snap, which loses him a lot of momentum, and now Big T is all over his gearbox. And yeah, going into turn 1, I don't think we have DRS yet. I think DRS is only being enabled at the end of this lap, which means down the main straight we won't have any DRS, but we do need to get a move on if we want to stay with Fury. So going through this exit, we turn on the overtake button, and this is not to make a move. This is just to force the guys ahead to also use their battery so that we can close up to Fury, because if I don't use my battery, they won't use theirs. So Big T goes for the move. We brake nice and early, and now we keep it tight on the entry to this corner, on the exit, and now we go for the switchback. Get on the power nice and early, open the DRS, enable the ERS, and now we're going to send it up the inside of Microstatic to hopefully go up to P3. We brake nice and early, hit the apex, leave room on the exit, and we get on the power nice and early, and we've made the move. So we're up into P3. Now let's get after Big T. Maybe we can set up a move on the home straight again. So immediately I'm thinking I can't pass anywhere in this part of the lap without losing a lot of time. So I'm not going for any overtakes. I'm just sitting behind him, using the ERS, using the DRS to stay close, and hopefully on the main straight we can then make the pass. We can see we're on 70% battery, which isn't bad. It's not ideal. We want to be a bit higher than that, but we did use a lot on the main straight of the previous lap just to kind of force the issue, and that did at the end of the day help us to gain a position. So it wasn't all for nothing, but you certainly don't want to be wasting battery. So again, we just enable it a slight bit at the start of the straight, pick up some momentum, and now you can see we're just about 3/10 away from Big T. Brake nice and late, hit the apex, get on the power nice and early, and now we are going to be draining this battery with the DRS, and we turn it off there, so we're not draining it completely, but we want to catch Furi as quickly as possible. We need to be in his DRS, otherwise this is going to be a very difficult race. So go through turn 1 nicely, open up turn 2, get on the power, bit of a snap as we're just trying to nail every bit of traction that we can. We use some overtake there just for some overspeed and to ensure that Big T doesn't come back on us on a move. And now we are setting our sights on Furi. We need to catch him as soon as possible, even if it means burning some battery, because if we can get in his DRS, we will be saving a lot of ERS, saving a lot of tires, and that's just going to benefit our race for the whole night. So that is priority number 1, is getting in his DRS. Now you can see the gap at the start of the lap, I think, was 3.5 seconds. We're down to 2.5 at the moment. Obviously, we had a lot of DRS in the main straight as well, which probably gained us about 4/10 alone. But we need to be catching at least half a second a lap for the next 2 laps if we want any chance of getting in these DRS, because these tires will only be good for probably another 3 or 4 laps, and then they will start degrading. They won't be terrible because it's the hards, they do last the longest of all the tires, but their peak performance will definitely be wearing out. So as you can see, I think Furi will be setting the fastest lap here. He sets a 32.5, we set a 31.8, so 7/10 that we caught up in the last lap. But now you can see we are under 20%. At the end of lap 8, we have brought that gap down to 1.9 seconds, so we have caught up another 6/10 on this lap. If we can keep this going, we should be in his DRS in the next 2 or 3 laps, but we have no battery remaining. We're on 14%, so we will be struggling down the straight. You can see barely reaching 300 k's an hour, and on lap 9, pushing so hard, in turn 4, these tires have started to overheat, and you can see we get a massive snap of oversteer, and we lose 2/10 to Furi, which is a lot in this battle. And again at turn, what is this, 11, a massive snap here, which costs us almost half a second, as we were about 1.9 seconds behind, or 1.8 seconds behind. We are now 2.2 seconds behind. So on this lap alone, just by those 2 mistakes, we've lost around 7/10, which is not ideal, because that means the previous lap where we gained 7/10 has just been cancelled out, and we still have no ERS to show for it. So we're a bit on the back foot, but we still got to keep pushing. Coming across the line, lap 9, the gap is 2.1 seconds, and now it's just a bit of cat and mouse. Can we inch into this lead every lap just by a few tenths? And you can see lap 10, the gap's actually increased to 2.3 seconds, and that is because we have no battery. And that is the importance of keeping your ERS. If you have no ERS, you just have nothing to either defend with or nothing to attack with. So 2.3 seconds the gap. At the end of lap 11, again 2.4, almost 2.5 seconds. So now he's pulling away by a tenth or 2 every lap, and that is not what we need. We need to be able to bring that gap down instead of having it increase. Now we are nearing the pit window, and so I'm starting to think about when do we pit, because ideally we want to pit on lap 17, because the mediums are rapid for 12 laps. So if we can do 17 laps on these hards, it means we will have the freshest and best tires for the last stint. However, we don't want to get undercut by Furi by a lot of laps, because it will be very tough to gain that gap back. The gap's already 2.6 seconds. If he pits 2 laps ahead of us, the undercut's going to be another 4 seconds, which means there's going to be a 6-second gap for us to make up. So that's not ideal. Pitting on lap 14 is still a bit early. The mediums don't want to do 15 laps at all. 13 is still doable, but as I said, 12 is the golden number. So the other thing is, if we pit on lap 16, we could pit on lap 15 and get an undercut, which will put us back in his DRS. So I'm thinking, as you can see, we're going through this second to last corner now. I'm thinking, let's box this lap, because if Furi stays out another lap, we will be in his DRS with the undercut. We might get a bit of traffic. As you can see on the minimap, there's a whole gaggle of cars going through the right-hander now, but it's a risk we have to take. But as you can see, Furi dives into the pit as well, which means we will not be able to do an undercut. We will be sticking with him. And the gap before we went in the pits was 2.5 seconds. We nail it, get an optimal turn in, we release the clutch, and that's a very good 2.2 stop. But now, as you can see, everyone coming down the main straight, Fourie will be ahead of us, but he gets overtaken by the Mercedes and McLaren, and he's in clear air, and there's a McLaren coming down the main straight, and we just get out ahead of him. This is crucial for our race, because if we get stuck in traffic, Fourie is just going to be able to extend that gap even more. So crucial for us to come out ahead of Chooks. And we have about 30% battery now. Through the pit lane we do gain some battery back, but obviously now we've got cold tires, so we don't know where the grip is, we don't know how early to brake. And you can see Venom Terra has left the session. Now he's just ahead of Fourie. I didn't notice this at the time, but at this stage I'm still thinking Venom is in his car and has control of his car, so I'm thinking maybe Fourie can get held up by Venom, even if it's just half a second. That gains us some time back. But as you will see now, Fourie gets DRS on Venom on his AI car, and he overtakes him immediately, which means not only did he not lose time, he actually gained time because he got DRS. We didn't get DRS on the straight, so Fourie is just pulling away at this stage, and now Venom is right ahead of us. At this stage we still don't know Venom has been disconnected, so we just think it's 4th position, but now you can see the X on his name and I realize he is disconnected from the session. So I enable a bit of overtake to get nice and close so we can pass him going into turn 1, but you can see Venom Terra has joined the session, which means he will be taking control of his car at any moment now, so we need to get past before he tries to defend, and we successfully get past. Now going back into turn 1, we are behind Fourie again. He's in P1, I'm in P2. The drivers that were ahead have all pitted now, so everyone has made their pit stops, and now it's just a fight to the end of the race. 2.2 seconds the gap, but again we have absolutely zero battery. But hopefully by this point in the race, I'm kind of hoping that the pressure we've put on Fourie as he sets the fastest lap and then we set the fastest lap, another 6/10 faster, so we do have the race pace, but now we don't have any battery left. So can we bridge this gap? As you can see, the gap's come down to 1.7, 1.8 seconds, but we turn in too early for the corner. We go over the curb, which sends us wide, and we lose all the time again. So similar to earlier in the race where we're gaining time, and then just 1 or 2 mistakes cost us to lose all the time again, and we have to start from the beginning and with zero battery. So just a bit of consistency that's costing us at the moment, but the gap is still there, 2.2 seconds, and we're keeping the pressure on. And hopefully at this stage we've forced Fourie to use some of his battery as well, because he can't afford us to get in his DRS, so he will obviously be pushing as well to keep us out, and hopefully that has caused him to use a lot of his battery. Now lap 19, as we come around the final corner, there's a VSC. Now do we pit? The answer is no, and the reason is I didn't have a lot of time to make the decision, but you can see the guys going through the second last corner now. There's probably 8 cars all bunched up within a second of each other, and so if we pit now and no one else pit, it means we have got a lot of traffic that we have to get through, and you probably lose around 14 to 16 seconds if you pit under VSC. So that gap would have been about 18 seconds, which we would only have 10 laps to make up. That's around 2 seconds per lap, and then we still would have had to pass a bunch of cars. So I just figured staying out is a better option. And now you can see we are going through this funny S section while the VSC is ending, and we don't want to get a drive-through penalty, so we hit the brakes and lose all our momentum, and now we're almost 3 seconds behind Fourie. So that VSC timing was really bad for us. We get a great exit though out of turn 8, and we've brought that gap down to 2.5, but now again we're half a second back from where we were 2 laps ago. And it doesn't sound like much, but in this case where the pace between me and Fourie is so similar, half a second is a lot. That's probably about 5 laps of absolute sending it. So that does put us in the back foot a bit, but now final 9 laps of the race are underway, and you can see we only have 0.29 laps of fuel left, and at the end of the lap we're on 0.25. So we are losing around 0.05 laps of fuel per lap, which means we only have 6 laps of fuel left, and that is not ideal because there's 8 laps of the race left. So now we can see we have no ERS, we don't have enough fuel to make it to the end, and we still somehow have to try and catch Fourie before lap 26, 27 if we want to stand a chance of still winning this race. So the odds are stacked against us, but let's see if we can do it. Going on to lap 23, gap is 2.2 seconds. At the end of the lap we are down to just under 2.2, so it's been quite a fair lap between the two of us, quite an equal lap between the two of us, but every time we're still using the bit of battery we have just in a hope that we can gain some time back. At the start of lap 24, gap is 2 seconds. At the end of lap 24, the gap is just under 1.8, so we've gained a roughly 2 or 3 tenths on this lap. If we can keep that going, we might get in this DRS by the end of lap 26 and save some fuel, save some ERS, so that we can try and go for the pass on the last lap. But as you can see, 1.7 seconds is the gap, back up to 2 seconds. So Fourie again has increased the gap as we missed the apex slightly going to the final corner, and now we are back to 2 seconds, and this gap just doesn't seem to be coming down enough. There's only 4 laps of this race remaining if we include this one, and at the end of lap 26 again 1.7, so the gap has come down a bit again. And this has been the whole race. It's just been cat and mouse. Through some corners I gain a bit of time, through a few next corners Fourie gains a bit of time, and it's just been one way or the other this whole race, but neither of us have given an inch. And yeah, you can see on lap 27 his light starts flashing, which means he's also under 10%, which means we have forced him to use his battery, and now maybe that he's out of battery, we can close this gap. It will be tight. The gap is 1.6 seconds, which means we basically have this lap to gain 7 tenths so that we can make the pass on the final lap with DRS. However, on the second last lap, final corner, the gap is still 1.6 seconds, and at this stage you can see the fuel. We are basically on 0 with fuel, so we will be having to save a lot of fuel this lap, and I think we'll stay on board for the whole last lap. Just so you can see, going to the final corner, this has been the last 3 laps. We lift early to save some fuel, brake a bit later because we're carrying less speed into the corner, and yeah, you can see the gap kind of staying 1.6 seconds. We don't really have much to fight with at this stage. We have accepted P2. We obviously are staying as close as possible just in case he gets a 3-second track limit penalty or something else. I don't know, maybe he makes a mistake, he locks up or something, but at this stage there's not really much else we can do. If he just keeps it on track, the win is all in his pocket. And now you can see what I was talking about at the start of the race, how crucial it is to not fight and how crucial it is to not lose time to the leading cars, because Fourie's gap was just 3 seconds at the start of the race at lap 5 or 6, and we were just never able to recover that gap because the pace was so similar. So yeah, if you want any chance of winning a race or getting a good result, you cannot be compromising your race in the first 10 laps, and this is proof of that. So we come across the second last corner, no fuel left, no battery left. The gap is still 1.9 seconds. It's been a very intense race. I was sweating. I was like literally drenched in water from top to bottom, but it was super enjoyable. And that's our first race in LSA without the line, and we come home in P2. I think Rostam and Jakes got the fastest lap in the end, so we didn't get the fastest lap, but P2 is still a very good result. And as we quickly see the final battle between Conboy and Big T going for P4 at the final corner, Conboy just parks it on the apex and Big T has nowhere to go. He gets a bit of an oversteer moment, and that means Conboy holds on to P4. Good race from him. Big T settles for P5. So guys, that was the race, round 1 of season 5 at Bahrain. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope the voiceover was good. As I said, this was the first time, so I will definitely be getting better at it. But yeah, I'll be trying to do these every week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully guys you learned a few things. And yeah, looking forward to a very, very good season that's lying ahead of us. And yeah, it's going to be good. Next week we've got Saudi Arabia. Quite a difficult track, a lot of walls, a lot of front wings go flying. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But here are your final results. Furi takes the win from pole, dominant race from him. We come home in P2, starting P3, and Microstatic finishes off the podium from P2 to P3. You can see there's the final results. Rastaman Jakes did get the fastest lap. And yeah, that's all from me, guys. See you all on track next week. Goodbye.